Hello, beautiful friends. I'm trying to check in every day over the next 2 weeks about different aspects of what's happening in my container that starts in the middle of July around drawing. And today, what I want to talk to you about is why it's so important to have intimate containers for learning drawing, or how it can be so helpful. Because in a college setting, which is where I was as a student and then where I was as a teacher, I feel like this wasn't always addressed. I always tried to address it because it was important to me. But when you study any kind of arts, okay, art is expression. If you think about energy centers, that's your throat chakra. Expression. What you express may come from your heart, may come from your mind, but it's communication and expression. And what's so intimate and so tender and so powerful about our personal expression? It's not only how we express it, but the experience we have, both of noticing what we express and what we don't and why we don't. And I'm not here to answer these questions today, but to kind of heighten your awareness that all of this is kind of going on, consciously or unconsciously, depending on the setting, depending on how much time you have to react. Okay, but what are you expressing? What are you editing out? What are you censoring? What are you hiding or not? Or what are you pushing forward? What do you want the world to see, right? And then there's how do you feel about what you've created? And this is so important because I taught model drawing, fashion illustration, fashion design to beginners for years, decades, in a position where I needed to grade students from week one. And I don't think that's at all appropriate. You know, how do you evaluate someone who's doing something they've never done before, where they don't even have their questions yet? Some do, but you usually get your questions by doing. That's where you realize what you need. This is not a place for evaluation. This is a place for exploration, like taking your first steps. And aside from being evaluated by an outside source, it's good to have feedback. It's good to have conversations. It's good to ask questions. But to be graded, ugh. That's why I love creating courses and programs outside of the university. It's a much more, I want students to learn from within, motivation from within, not from imposed structures. So here's the really delicate piece though, is if I were to go right to the heart of the matter right now, how do you feel now this could be drawing, art, this could be sewing, this could be parenting, this could be your business, that could be your relationship. Everything is a relationship. Let's say this, it's a relationship to yourself, both to the self you want to be, your ideal self, the self you wish to be, the self your ego likes to identify with. But in drawing or singing or movement, any of these things, relationships, parenting, okay, it's very apparent what we don't accept about ourselves. I just got goosebumps everywhere, and that's how I know that the message is coming through. And I'm not here to give answers. I'm only here to open your heart and your awareness and your being to how you talk to yourself when you don't like what you heard yourself say, when you don't like how you heard yourself sing, when you don't like the way you look when you dance, or how you feel when you can't learn a step, or how you feel when your drawing is wrong, off, doesn't please you. What does that mean to you? In an intimate container, I think it's important that we have a safe space to be playful, to take these risks, go on these adventures, and also feel into these things, because they really deepen your experience of life and relationship to yourself and others. Then you start to notice what you really was inconvenient to notice, or that even causes pain that you're kind of makes you afraid to look at it, when it's actually not that big and awful and scary when you finally look at it. Like, what does it mean to you? What do you say to yourself when you've created something that you don't consider beautiful? Or if you look in the mirror and you don't feel beautiful. Oh my gosh, how many times I don't make a video because I look at myself in the camera and I say, oh, you know, that makes me so sad to think that I would hide my voice. But this is an ongoing journey for all of us, for so many of us, because of the way we grew up and all the Hollywood and all the media and all the things, all the competitiveness. How do you talk to yourself when you don't like what you've created? And this is golden, because this is where your vulnerability lies. In a world where vulnerability became a bad word, and thus intimacy would be a bad word, because vulnerability and intimacy go hand in hand. It's an opening, it's a willingness to question, a willingness to soften, a willingness to open and to share. And I'm not even saying with others. It's about sharing with yourself, of yourself, and embracing the self that you were taught to push away. Because maybe your parent or your teacher or TV told you, no, not like that. Not like that. Hang on a second. Andrew, I'm making a little video, so I'll be done in a minute, okay? And actually, you know, maybe I should keep it short and sweet today. Short and sweet like us.
It's 12:21.
Yeah, I have to go out super soon too. Maybe that's all I was meant to say today, is just to heighten awareness of what parts of you like to put out there in the world, because you feel safe behind them, and that's okay. And because they make you feel good, they make you feel empowered, they make you feel et cetera, et cetera. But then think just to pay a little attention to where you feel shame. And shame's just a feeling. It's not a truth. There's no part of you that needs to be ashamed of. Shame's a feeling. Don't erase your feelings. Feel it in your body. But don't believe, because all stories are stories. Truths aren't absolute. So when you think, oh, my drawing, this makes me look vulnerable, this makes me look weak, this makes me look imperfect, this makes me look unprofessional, this makes, you know, all these words and stories that come that start to silence you and separate you from yourself. Today, oh, beautiful artist just jumped on from my childhood, someone whose art always inspired me, as well as her sense of humor. Why am I so emotional this morning? And like I said, this applies to art, but this applies to everything. Our parenting, our family, our personal lives, our relationships, our home life, our everything is the relationship with yourself. So in these art classes, but in all areas of your life, you can already start this dialogue with yourself about what's that part of yourself that you think, that you edge out, that you think is unacceptable. Because I feel the whole reason we're here is to welcome back all the parts of ourselves that we rejected however long ago. And the beautiful thing is, and I forget where I heard the quote, that the soul is a self-healing thing. Your life will constantly magnetize and bring to it the exact experiences that call up those parts of yourself that you pushed away, so you have the opportunity to welcome them back into yourself. So there's a whole self. The whole self is always there, but it's whether we allow it or not. You know, whether we love it or not. And this is why you hear me talk self-love, 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 because ultimately your capacity for love for yourself just increases the capacity of love in every direction. And it's such a powerful force. It's a miraculous force and a beautiful experience of life. Again, why we're here. So that's why art study and personal expression through writing, through painting, through dancing, through drawing is the ultimate invitation to notice where we feel so vulnerable and shy, or that we should be different than we are. There's like a little trauma there, and we get to, in a safe space, we can do this together and kind of accept ourselves more wholeheartedly. And then you notice that in that place of acceptance and freedom is where you become so confident. In that utter vulnerability is pure truth, pure faith, and that's where you want to lead from. And that's what I want to do. I'm working at that every day myself, and that's what I love to work at with you guys in the places we hold together, including this live video today. So you might want to grab a journal and just give yourself 2 blank pages to fill, answering some of the questions we asked today. What parts of yourself do you love to put towards the world, and they make you feel safe and empowered and great and la la la? I can make a long list of those. And then maybe on the other side, that list of the things that come up in your life when you're personally expressing and being in the world that you feel are wrong. You know, the inner critic, what's it saying? And where's your shame and your vulnerability, your sense of vulnerability? And while you're making that list, notice how it's okay to have those feelings. And they're not ultimately true. There's nothing shameful or broken about you. It's just nice to know where those stories are hiding about your broken shame, and your vulnerability is your strength. But we've lived in a society that always tells our vulnerability is weakness. You know, and this rising feminine for both men and women and all people now is about reclaiming, bringing back the allowance for this softness, this kindness, and this strength that comes from vulnerability and flexibility and the unknown, right? We're in a world where you're always supposed to know everything. We don't really want to live like that. I mean, knowing combined with mystery, because it's a journey, it's an adventure, and we are curious about it, yes? Okay, so the posts around this talk more about the program that's running from July to August. I'd love to work with you. I'm only going to have about 12 people in that container, and we're going to be doing model drawing as a means of both learning model drawing and also discovering ourselves, developing a relationship with our own raw creativity, sensitivity, emotions, sensuality, and artistic expression in a group that's going to be very cozy and transformational, and I'm so excited to start. But don't worry, I'll be talking regardless whether you can be with us or not. We're going to talk about these things every day over the next 2 weeks. All right, so if you like or comment or something, you're more likely to get the upcoming content. So thanks for being here. I love you. Bye, guys.